Welcome, everybody, to the Horseshoe Huddle channel. This episode of Saddle Up with Shaad and Destin. A little Shaadless again tonight. He's going through some stuff as he's moving to the new house. But I'm back with Zach Hicks. I've been with Zach Hicks more in these past 2 weeks than I think I ever have. We're getting very accustomed with each other. But we have a special guest here today that's a little bit more important than both me and Zach. And that is newest Colts draft pick, Darius Rush, corner out of South Carolina. Darius, how are you doing, man?
Man, doing good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, anytime. We're gonna start with just a very loose question that me and Zach were going back for. We talked about it a little bit beforehand. How are you available in the fifth round?
Oh man, man, I did have a lot of draft projections like second and third round. So, I'm just waiting. Honestly, I was just like, okay, second, third round, let's just wait for my name. We needed a couple of corners to go off the board in the first round, just to like set it up pretty good. But I mean, it didn't go our way, but it's okay. But I mean, I was a little hurt day two. I'm be honest with you, I was a little upset, but I like got over it within like 30 seconds. Like a couple minutes, I was upset. Then I was like, all right, I'm over it. On to the next
Yeah.
day, and it was more the mentality of like I heard it all the time. I heard it all day. The next day, it's not about when you go; it's about what you do when you get there.
Yeah.
And to be available in the fifth round, I thought I was going fourth round, but be available in the fifth round. I mean, maybe I was supposed to go in the fifth round, and I'm where I'm supposed to be. So definitely happy with the Colts organization for picking me up. So I'm where I'm needed to be and where I'm valued.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny too when you talk about the fifth round pick is, if you go back in time a little bit, back to 2012, Gus Bradley, the Colts defensive coordinator, they took, I think it was 2012 or 2011, they took a former wide receiver turned corner in the fifth round who became an all pro player in Richard Sherman, so it could go either way. You could
Yeah.
obviously still make the most out of it when it comes to being that fifth round pick and stuff like that. What do you think about Indy overall? Just obviously the area of Indianapolis and what this team is and kind of how your meetings went with the team during the process.
So with Indy, I mean, my first time was during the combine. I honestly never thought I would be in Indianapolis. I like the state of Indiana, honestly, but went there for the combine and just looking at the scenery around there. I mean, it's a nice scenery, especially downtown. So what I did get to see was pretty nice, and I really enjoyed the people that was there too. A lot of hospitality people, everybody was nice, just greeting you. I'm like, I'm just in town for like a couple of days, but it was like you've been there for years, and everybody was just so nice, and it was very appreciative of the hospitality there. In terms of the organization, I had a um, couple talks with them at the Senior Bowl. We were doing like this little thing, meeting around all different teams, and had the opportunity to meet with them twice during that process. So had a couple conversations during the Senior Bowl, just talking, just to get to know me a little bit more. And then throughout the process, wasn't much communication. I didn't take a visit or anything, but I did like talk with the psychologist for the team um, prior to like the draft coming up. So those are, I'll say, my two interactions with the Colts. But I like being in that stadium, honestly, that Lucas Oil, man, like just looking around, like it's amazing. So
Oh
had
yeah.
opportunity, of course, to get to see the stadium where I'll be playing in. Um, but yeah, Indy as a whole, man. I love the scenery that it has. I love downtown, and just ready to get there and explore a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
The Indianapolis weather will be a little bit different than what you're
Yeah.
used to there in South Carolina, but we'll see. During the summer, it'll be nice. I promise. I mean,
Gotcha. I
people will talk
appreciate
crap about Indiana.
appreciate
Don't get me wrong;
that.
it's cold right now. So whenever you get here for rookie mini camp tomorrow or Friday, whenever you're coming up, it may still be cold then, but we're getting there. I promise.
I appreciate
But you
it.
brought up the Senior Bowl, and we got to talk about it. Hell of a week down there in Mobile for you. I was down there covering the event, and of any of the corners that I saw out there for one-on-ones, I don't think there was a corner that popped as much as you did, and the ability just run the routes, mirror the receivers at times. And I even saw some receivers get a little bit irritated with it eventually. So how was that week for you, just going back to it? And when you left, were you feeling the buzz about how big that of a week that was for you?
Yeah, I mean, going into it, it wasn't who is Darius Rush? Like who is like nobody knows me. I was embracing that sleeper role is what I like to call it, man. I was still embracing that role, so it was more of a different mentality going in. I mean, it's still football at the end of the day. I mean, I'm there to play football, enjoy football, but I went in there with a different mindset of like going to prove myself. Just being a corner fresh off, like just fresh out, really 2 years of just really playing on defense. So there was a lot of questions about my abilities. But I took that Senior Bowl as just another opportunity to compete against the best. That's like the Pro Bowl for like college athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the best of the best there. So to go against like the best competition and put on that display, I hope it. My goal was to show these scouts like, okay, I'm not just a guy who's just dipping his toe into the cornerback position. I'm a corner and I can play corner, and I'm here to showcase my ability. So it was there to just really just go down there and just be a lockdown corner like I am.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest thing. That was my biggest mindset to just go in and make a statement and show to everybody like I'm a corner, whether it's 2 years of production, but it's good production. Um, a lot of guys there had played 4 years, and me being 2 years, like I keep reiterating, but it's good production, and that's what I was going to go showcase.
Yeah, for sure. And the biggest thing I want to ask you with that Senior Bowl stuff is, those drills, those one-on-ones that we put on Twitter, we put on social media, as an ESPN runs on their channels or whatever, it is set up for you guys to lose at cornerback. You
Oh,
guys are
definitely.
being
Yeah.
set up to fail just so we can get the 5'2", 110-pound wide receiver who's taken 75 steps to run a slant route to get wide open. Oh my gosh, look at how quick this wide receiver is. Like, look, the corner made the guy take 30, take all these steps to get open. That corner is winning the rep. So what was kind of your approach to those one-on-ones? Did you want to be physical with guys? Did you want to back off and show your mirroring ability? Like, how did you kind of approach reps where they were literally designed for you to lose?
I mean, especially with Coach Sean Hamilton of the Lions, what he always told us, I mean, you gotta you read the routes as well. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, out breaking routes, I mean, outside release, it's like it shortens the route tree a lot.
Yep.
So to be able to anticipate certain things that's coming, uh, me being a former receiver, and I know if I got an outside release, it's only a couple routes I could run. Inside release, you got the whole entire route tree. So it's more about just really just playing on the leverage and just feeling the routes and how they like come out. So I'll say like example on that comeback route. I mean it's outside release. You either go ball, you're gonna run a hitch, or you're gonna run a comeback, something
Yep.
of that nature. So it was more of like anticipating, especially based off like the yards that he was running it and just looking at the shoulder pads like, okay, you're about to break down. Let me go ahead and just start throttling it down and undercut it and pick it off. So but it has been times where I did get beat off on certain routes. I'll take full like accountability that I did get beat on a couple routes based off like certain releases that I was anticipating an in breaking route, but it turned into something different.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, just being able to have that anticipation and have that IQ from being a receiver, knowing what routes you can get based off like different releases, whether it's outside, you got certain routes and breaking routes as well. So I'll say that's one thing I took with me as well, that wide receiver um, skills that I did acquire during my career.
One of your fellow draft mates was a corner at the Senior Bowl as well with you, Julius Brents. Did you guys have any time to kind of connect down there in Mobile or since the draft process, before or after finding out you were going to be teammates in Indy?
No, definitely. So like we were cool, man. Like that's my guy at the Senior Bowl for sure. Like we were cool. I mean, we connected. Just was chill, man. He was a good guy. And then found out we got drafted to the same team. Man, I was like, on my phone. If I gotta text him, I gotta text him. First they tell you, man, like let's go, like let's go lock down Indy. Like we're just hyping each other up about it. Like man, we're about to be teammates, and we were teammates at the Senior Bowl, which is crazy. and not only him, but Jalen Jones as well. Like I trained
Right.
with him at EXO, so going in there with guys that I'm already familiar with and I know, and we all, I'm sure, are going to hold each other accountable to just put our best foot forward and go out there and compete. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast to see. Destin, do you want to get to Patrick's question here, and then I'll follow
Yeah.
up Patrick there, just because he jumped in with an excited question here. He asked, "How excited is he to be in such a young secondary room with the possibility of being with the same guys for potentially the next 4+ years?"
I'll say I'm very excited. Just to be with guys I've already connected with and have some kind of chemistry with, whether it's small or a lot. So to have that knowledge that I'm with guys that I'm familiar with, and I'm sure we're all going to hold each other accountable for this whole entire next 4 years in Indy. It feels great, and it's amazing to be with guys that you know. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I do eventually want to transition to some of your film in South Carolina here, but to kind of build off of Patrick's question, and Patrick, thank you very much for that question there. I think it's a great question to build off of there. Is how do you kind of find that balance when you're with guys? You're competing with these guys for roster spots. You're competing with them for playing time and stuff like that. But also they're your teammates. They're your guys. The guys that you will need to rely on if you're on the field with them. So how do you kind of find that perfect balance to where, we're cool. Like I need to rely on you if we're on the field together, but also I'm coming for your job. I'm coming up there to start. How do you kind of find that balance as a player?
Yeah, man, it's no different than college. I mean, me and Cam, like we're two guys who was going to compete against each other to be, like everybody said, who's CB1. I mean, we're
Hmm.
going to compete at it, even though we're both two starters. I mean, we were going to compete regardless because we know we want to see each other better and we want to make each other better. So that's the same instance that I'm gonna bring here as well. Like, God, man, like we're cool, no, most definitely, but we both have a job to do, and that's to make the organization better. And we both have, all three of us have to take accountability to not only hold each other accountable, but to go out there and compete and win a starting job, and just to go out there and make like the organization better. And that's the ultimate goal, is you got to be the guy to just make the organization better, whether it's
Yeah.
me, Julius, or Jalen. It's about, and if it's Julius, I mean, I'm gonna support him regardless. When my time is up next. That's just how this go. I'm just going to make the organization better from a corner standpoint or a special team standpoint. Either
Hmm.
way, it's going to be nothing but support throughout that whole secondary amongst us. And like we're just going to out there and compete because we already know the ultimate goal is just to go out there and compete and win a starting spot.
Awesome. Awesome.
So after the Senior Bowl, the next spot where you kind of got to display your skills a little bit was in Indy, like we mentioned earlier, at the scouting combine. How was that experience for you? And how, when you're going to do just a bunch of drills and essentially, like what is your mindset going into an event like that?
So the mindset there, it was just to run as fast as I can. I had a
And you
lot of
succeed, and you
questions.
succeeded.
Hey, hey man, it was a lot of questions about my speed. So I was already like, okay, they think I'm like a four, high 4.4. I'm a 4.5. Like they had me ranging in the 4.5s. So to go out there and run 4.36, I shocked myself a little bit. So, but no, I was there to display my speed, of course, because that was a big question about me was, is he fast? Like, oh, he's stiff in the hips, this, that, and the third. But to go out there and show it and display that skill set of I can flip my hips, there's no stiff abilities, things like that, and I'm fast. So it was just another opportunity to show my skill set and showcase what I can do.
Yeah, and as someone who was at the combine and I was in that media scrum in front of all of you guys and stuff like that, what was that experience like where you're having all these guys kind of crawl their way and fight their way through the scrums to get to you and ask you these questions about, which random team have you met with and stuff like that? How was that whole media experience for you there in Indy?
I'll say that meeting experience was a lot different than what I had in my facility. Like, so
Yeah.
we would do it in our defensive team room, but everybody's sitting down. Everybody
Hmm.
like sitting in certain spots. So everybody had the opportunity to really just, you look around like, okay, who got a question? But there it's more of like a bunch of ants trying to get on, like get some food, like everybody's trying to get it. But I mean, it was cool, I tried to give everybody their opportunity to speak. Like if somebody asked a question, I'll just try to like snap my head to them so they can like continue to talk to.
Yep.
Trying to give you opportunity to ask your question. So I was just trying to give everybody their opportunity to just ask whatever questions they had. But it was all good. I mean, I'm sure it's not a big secret. It's pretty easy to find out like what team he was talking to. I mean, I posted on my Instagram page. Next thing you know, I see my same story on Twitter. Like, oh, Darius Richardson in Pittsburgh. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, you started me. So yeah, but it's all good. It was. I still enjoyed it.
I know exactly who you're talking about with the Pittsburgh one. I remember that guy. That guy was stopping by everybody asking if they met with Pittsburgh, and I'm like, you know what? Respect, buddy. I respect you.
Hey, if you're gonna do it, do it to everybody, right? Just
Yeah,
sell out. So last question here before we kind of dive more into the X's and O's part that Zach's going to lead us for a little bit.
Gotcha.
This is going to seem like a very vanilla question, but any thoughts on the jersey number heading up to Indy? I know all the posts are getting made right now about numbers. The 28 is sadly taken here in Indy, obviously, by one named Jonathan Taylor. So any thoughts on what number you're going to be repping?
Man, I have a couple numbers in mind, but I don't want to say them right now. Just
Come on, get the zero. Get the zero.
In case Julius might be listening, man. So, but I do have a couple numbers in mind. A good couple numbers. So hopefully, I have the opportunity to pick a number. So
yeah,
just
know whatever number you pick, that's going to determine how successful you are in the NFL. So it needs to be a good number. And that'll determine your success.
My only push for a hint that I'll do, and you can just fully say next question, and we'll just laugh it off. But are you a guy that's interested in the new single digits that are now allowed to defensive players ever since that new rule happened in the NFL?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Yes. Please give me the zero. That's all I ask. But we'll push past that here. We'll go into some film stuff. And Darius, I'm going to quiz you, and not quiz you. I'm going to just ask you a little bit about press technique, because that's my biggest thing, especially with corners like you, where you have that insane length, you have that insane physicality, and also the long speed to go with it. So talking some press technique and stuff like that, when you are working throughout the week and you're kind of studying your opponent, seeing which receivers you're playing against, what are you kind of watching throughout the week to determine how you're going to attack those guys in press? Are you seeing if they want to be physical, if they want to be fast, kind of what are you studying on film, getting in preparation for, your press technique throughout the week?
So me personally, I'm not even looking at the receiver. I'm looking at the other corners sometimes, just to see like what they're doing. If it's a corner I know that's pretty physical and he's a guy who wants to get his hands on you, I'm just seeing like if that's working for him, Examples would have been probably like Tennessee. I mean, a lot of people played off on Tennessee, but when they pressed, it was like, okay, when they pressed, Tennessee was kind of like a little bit shooken up, like nobody really challenged them. We were the only team to really challenge them, and we got the results that we did by doing that. So it's all about finding out what kind of team they are. Like Tennessee being that fast spread team, everybody's off, so they're just giving them routes. So they're basically they ran routes on air all year, in my opinion.
Yes.
But don't get me wrong, they are a good team, especially with Hendon being that quarterback. They had Hyatt, Tillman, all those guys. Don't get me wrong, they are a good team. But just looking at the kind of team that they are, we had a meeting in the defensive room, and I was put on all three corners, me, Cam, and Marcellus, about a DC. The DC itself, he said, guys, listen, you guys are going to go up there and press. Like, don't even look to the sideline. We're playing man. You're going to press all game. Get ready for it. And that's what we did. And that's the results that we got. We were a team that were just going to go out there and we're going to be physical and challenge them. And that's what our coach, DB coach, Coach Gray, always instilled in us. You got to challenge them. And that's one thing that we did with that team. So I would say in terms of like studying different receivers, I look at that as well. Like, is it a guy that you can give space, but he doesn't have a lot of wiggle? You can give him space and he just like might stutter, He might not be uncomfortable. He might be a little bit uncomfortable. He wants you to use his hands. And then based off like the kind of receivers they are, is he a twitchy receiver? Is he a long speed, a
Hmm.
downhill threat? Just looking at little things like that, I would say really helped me out in my career.
Awesome, awesome. And keeping with the press theme and talking more about press technique, are you someone who I know this is kind of just talking technique in general, but like, are you more of a step kick kind of guy? Do you like to mirror and match, or does it kind of vary based off the opponent that you're facing?
It does vary based off the opponent that we're facing. So I'll give a couple examples. I would say Arkansas, they had a lot of receivers were 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", like big room of receivers.
Yeah.
But we knew that like, they didn't have like that speed, if that makes sense. We knew that we can run with them, so we played a firm press technique. So we were just like a pure step team that day.
Yep.
Another example would be Tennessee as well. We mirrored them a lot. Yep. No, so we like played a lot of mirror and just giving ground a little bit, just to stay on top of the routes because we didn't want to give up those explosive plays. So it did vary based off on team for us, but it's all about what kind of team they are. Example would be another one would be Vanderbilt. With the Vanderbilt game, when I got that pick, I was mirroring because
Hmm.
that I think he was like I think he was like second in the SEC in receptions, explosive plays, and he's one of their deep ball guys. So just to mirror and stay on top of that route and squeeze it to the sideline, and I made the play on the ball. So it just varies based on the team that we're playing and the kind of receivers I'm up against.
Awesome. And, again, keeping with the press technique here and really quizzing you, is there a typical one that you prefer? Like, do you feel more comfortable in step kick? Do you feel more comfortable in mirror? Or are you going to be someone who jumps on here and says, you know what, I can do it all? I can do it all, guys. Don't worry.
I'll be one of those guys that I won't just say I can do it all, but I can do it all, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But for the sake of this question, I will say I do like the pure step, just
Awesome.
staying firm, kind of press technique.
Perfect, perfect. And then one more I have with this, and I'll finally let Destin jump in here. There's a lot of schools of thought when it comes to press and getting the hands on a guy or letting them get some space on you and then just kind of mirroring. You don't have to get those hands on to disrupt. Are you someone who feels like you have to be physical with the guy at the line of scrimmage to disrupt that route, or do you feel like you can still disrupt that route without being physical at the line?
I'll say going back to my receiver days, man. We don't know. We want to run our routes, like we don't want to be touched sometimes,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so it's like we want to just run our routes and we want to get that timing down. So to disrupt that timing in the route, it can cause a lot of problems. Me just disrupting the route for maybe a half a second, the quarterback done took his eyes off of him. Maybe we done got a coverage sack. We caused him to scramble. So I'll say just it's all timing on the offense. Everything is
Yep.
about timing. Running backs, we gotta hit the hole. We gotta wait for the guard to pull. Like just little things like that. Same as a receiver. If you're a guy who's last in the progression, your route may take a little longer. You gotta actually do it. You gotta time it. You gotta be patient in your route. So it's all timing. And when you mess up timing for the offense, they really can't do as much as they want to. So it's all about disruption, in my opinion. So I would say, yeah, getting hands on, being physical, um, and causing the receiver to like not be comfortable. You got to make him uncomfortable. So
Love it.
if he feels as though he just can't run, he can't go get outside, make him go inside, even though he has an outside route. That's how you mess up the game for him a little bit, get in their head. So it's all a mind game, and it's all about chess as well.
Love it. Love it. Destin, you can finally jump back in here. I took all your time. You can jump back in here, Destin.
Yeah, I almost left, got a drink. But so moving from press technique just to the overall position of corner. So, I mean, Zach mentioned it earlier, and if you're just now joining in the live stream, you're a converted receiver. So making the move from receiver to corner, how was that for you when you had to move into the footwork of being a corner, the hand placement at the line, and just hip discipline, even? So just kind of going through those things and what that process was like for you. And do you think being a former receiver is a perk to you and going to the next level?
No, definitely. I would say in terms of like that transition, dude, man, it was like learning how to swim, man. I was just drowning at on the first couple days, man. Like
Yeah.
I was out there drowning, bro. But once I got the hang of it and really understood, I mean, it's like playing basketball. You got to have a base. You got to move your feet. You got to have quick feet. It's like once I got that concept down and really understood the part about just moving your feet, then that's where the hands came into play. Um, Learning like, okay, you can't shoot your outside and then you get crossed up, this, that, and the third. So it was more about just really getting my technique down in my feet and working my way up. So you got to start at the base. So I always said just getting my feet, just moving them just a little bit, and then working my way up to my hands and learning where to place them. I'll say in terms of being a converted receiver, I mean that's where ball skills come into play. So you make plays on the ball. Yeah, I can I'm able to adjust on the ball in the air, little things like that. I'll say that was displayed during our game against North Carolina in the Mayo Bowl, where the ball is like coming over my shoulder, and a lot of people were like curious of how I was able to make a play on it, because like
Mhm.
I hit it, like I swatted it forward versus like that. So
Yeah, I
to
remember that. Yep.
yeah, so to have the ball coming over your shoulder and timing it in this little small area and just timing it to hit it forward, I'll say that's where the ball skills really come into play, able to track the ball like I'm about to catch it. So I'll say being a converted receiver helps in that aspect of the ball skills, being able to track the ball in the air, find the ball in the air, and you can get a sense of what to expect. That anticipation also comes with it. Inside breaking route, and he's running 15 yards up the field. He either take you on a post or he about to break it off on a dig or a curl. So
Mhm. Yep.
that's where, like I said, that anticipation comes into play, and like looking at the alignment splits, little things like that also come help as well.
Perfect.
So what went into the decision to move from receiver to corner?
So it was I was making a lot of plays on special teams. So that's how it started. I I was like behind I was behind Debo Samuel, I was behind Brian Edwards, I was behind Josh Van Shy Smith. I was behind a bunch of good guys that's in the NFL right now. So I was like, I'm not gonna play right now offense, but I'm gonna go play on special teams. So that's what one of my motives was. So I was just running down on kickoff, just me going down making tackles, just making tackles. I'm on punt, just trying to be the best gunner I can. Just doing everything I could to just make the bus. And it came to it 2 days before camp is over. Hey, you want to switch to corner? You want to come play corner?
They always do that, man. They
I'm like,
always do this shit.
it's
Always.
like it's 2 days before
Always.
like camp is over, and I'm like, I don't know the playbook. I don't know nothing. I'm just over there at that point.
It is,
But it was because I was making a lot of plays on special teams, and me being the kind of person I am, I'm just trying to help the team win. So I'll say that was the reason for that switch to corner.
the amount of people I have talked to over the years where they switch positions in college, where they said, yeah, like a day before camp or halfway through the season, the other side position coach is like, hey, you're
Yeah,
not playing, come play for me. And it's like, dude, I don't know what you're doing over there. Like,
yeah,
come on.
that's exactly how it went.
Every time, man, I could really count on 10 hands the amount of times I've heard that shit over the years. I have so many questions to base off of what you just said, because you mentioned the special teams, and we're still talking wide receiver to corner. So, Destin, how about we go to Cody's question that's really lighthearted here, and then we'll go into my
I
my
wasn't
questions.
I wasn't gonna throw it on the screen, but now Zach put me on the spot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you may have got drafted to the NFL, but can you shovel down 12 Krispy Kreme donuts in 60 seconds?
Okay, let's see.
So you
This
ran
is
a
a
you ran
can
a
you?
four you
Let's
ran
see.
a 4.3640. So
Yeah,
what do you think your time would be on 12 Krispy Kreme donuts?
but the biggest question I gotta ask is the hot now light on.
Oh, it's gotta be.
Mm.
It's gotta
It's
be.
got to
Oh.
be on, man. So if the
Gotta be.
hot now light is
That blue
on,
light's gotta be on.
hey, the light got to be on, bro. But I don't know if the light's on. I mean, I could probably get it in under 60 seconds.
you got
So,
you got to do what the hot dog guys do. And you got to have the water going at the same time while you're throwing it in, just to make it smoother down. That's
yeah,
what you
man,
gotta do.
exactly like that.
Hey, if the light is on at Krispy Kreme, then they're smoothed down no
Yeah.
matter what.
Oh, that's easy. It's easy.
Oh man. All right. So I think I'll stick with the wide receiver to corner thing because I did have one question with that, and then we'll make our way to special teams eventually. I do want to get to that eventually, but wide receiver to corner, at wide receiver, you are playing a position where you are dictating the pace of play.
Yeah.
At wide receiver, you know what the play call is, and that corner is reacting to what you're doing. That is what you're doing right there. But when you are playing corner, yes, there are ways that you can dictate play, but you are mostly reacting to what the wide receiver is. So how did you kind of react to that change there where you're going from, again, the person who's dictating the pace to the one who's having to react to what's going on in front of them?
No, definitely. So I'll say that's where a lot of studying comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
It slows the game down for you. Coach Gray, he I don't know how he did it, but he can break down a team and just by giving him a film and a cup of coffee, probably. Like like he'll break down the tendencies, their go-to plays, their biggest play that they love to run. He breaks down everything. So how he broke it down, he always broke it down by their tendencies, and we'll go from tendencies to the kind of team they are. Are they a back shoulder team? Are they a over the top team? It's the little things like that that he always really like picked up on. Even their splits, like okay, when
Right.
they're inside the numbers, man, they don't run a lot outside. They trying to create space. Based off formations, certain formations that we picked up on that we were waiting on. Example was Vanderbilt. Like when they go tempo or they might get a quick little tempo, you can expect out routes, quick out routes coming on a certain formation that they were in. And man, when I tell you, me and Cam was just we was just sitting on them. We get to the sideline on a fourth down. Cam said, "I said, Cam, did they run it on that side?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah." So
Oh, the
it's like,
2x2s and so, yeah, I
yeah,
know. I know you're talking about with Vanderbilt.
man.
Yep.
So we just sitting waiting on them outside breaking routes after studying that film. But it's like the little things like that. So a lot of studying really comes into play that helps slow the game down just a
Yeah.
little bit. He
So
taught a lot. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I was gonna say. So Coach Gray, this is Torian Gray, right?
Correct.
Oh man, I covered Torian Gray back when he was with Washington years ago, and then I grew up a Virginia Tech fan, so Torian Gray was like one of my favorite DB coaches. I loved him, and I know you kind of just talked about him there, but like, what was it like having a coach where, this isn't a guy who's like a newcomer or something like that. He's worked
No.
with NFL guys at Virginia Tech. He's worked with NFL guys. At Washington and other places. Like Torian Gray, man, that's a legit name right there in
Yes,
the
definitely.
DB coaching industry. So like I know I kind of talked on it there a little bit, but like Torian Gray, man, he's a dude right there when it comes to coaching.
No, definitely. That's why it was very appreciative when he came and like I'll say he changed the mindset of like that DB room. Like I could be honest, like I didn't really have that IQ. I just played football. It was like,
Right.
okay, that's the play. I know what to do. Let me just go do what I just do as what the paper says. But once he really breaks things down for us, and taught us the little things like, okay, when the receivers are stacked like this and the back is away, and number one goes under, expect a drive route. So there's your drive concept. So he taught us
Yeah.
the little things like that, which really helped us out in that DB room, honestly. So I mean, having him and helping him, like him helping me, honestly, with my football IQ, it really slows down. Like I reiterate, it slows down the game and the way he breaks things down, and you just got to study it. And when you see it, it's not about, oh, that's the play about to run this curl. It's not about just knowing that it's coming. It's about making a play on it as
Yep.
well. So I'll say that's where that studying really came in, and the kind of coach that he is and what he instilled in us in that DB room is going to really help me out.
Yeah, no, Destin, I'll kick it back to you in a second. But Torian Gray, for all you guys following, I know you guys saw my love affair for James Rowe when he came here a couple years ago, and then Ron Milas when he came to coach the DBs, who I'm sure you're going to be having a really great relationship here with Darius soon. But Torian Gray was that for me when I was in high school. I was like, oh gosh, Torian Gray, the greatest DB coach ever. I loved everything that they did at VT, from that press and bail technique that they were doing under oh shoot, what was his name at Virginia Tech? I'm going to kill myself for not knowing his name at Virginia Tech, but they're doing that press and bail stuff and heavy heavy blitzing there at Virginia Tech. But oh my gosh, just everything Torian Gray did. I'm so glad that you got a chance to work with him because he really is just an absolute dog in the industry and one of the best out there. And you guys were lucky to have, Beamer, or not Beamer. It was the guy with Beamer, Patrick. Come on. You got to get this for me. Whatever, we'll get it eventually. But yeah, no, to get to work with Torian Gray like that's awesome. That is awesome to have that experience there. And yeah, I'm glad to see what he was able to do for your career because I saw it again at Virginia Tech, at Florida, and obviously in Washington. He was able to do so many good things.
Yeah, definitely. So just to throw it here to the fan question, thanks to Darius for retweeting my video of AR drawing plays with Coach Mooch. How pumped are you to play with AR? So excited you're on the Colts. I believe your exact comment on Twitter to that video was my quarterback one or QB1.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my QB, man.
It is.
I mean, that's my teammate now, you know. So I'm gonna support him regardless, whether he's playing or not. I'm still gonna support him. But I would say I didn't get my opportunity in the game to pick him off, but hopefully I can get one in practice. So
hey, rookie mini camp is around the corner. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but most definitely. But AR, just the kind of player he was, playing against him. I mean, he's a good dude. I could tell by the way he just played and like the kind of person that people describe him as. He's a guy who's coming in and trying to make an impact. He's a guy all about ball. So
yeah,
having an opportunity to play against him was amazing. It was grateful. But to be on the team with him as well is going to be even better, you know. So ready to get to Indy with him, and he gonna make an impact on the offense in the class that they brought in on the offensive side of the ball, defense side of the ball. Where that class is trying to just come in and make an impact in Indy.
Definitely. Destin, please throw up L. Jackson's tweet or comment there. Bud Foster. That's who I was talking about. Bud Foster, Virginia Tech. Jeez.
Hey, some people have the time to Google for us when we need it on here. It's the perks of these live streams. Dude, we have these people to do homework for us.
I have a Bud Foster like signed shirt in my house here, and I just could not find the name in my head there. But Darius, again, sorry, Destin, I keep taking all your limelight here on your show, but I did want to follow up on that Anthony Richardson thing there is, you know, you played against Anthony Richardson last year, and we're talking about a quarterback where obviously everything there wasn't perfect at Florida, but we're talking about a specimen at the position in terms of what he can do with the ball in his hands, what he can do throwing the ball. As a corner, what's it like playing against a quarterback that can kind of move like that and can throw like that as well? Like, you have to always be wary of that guy running, don't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that was the scouting report on him. Like, he's not a guy that can just beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs as well. And that's going into that whole week. We were trying to like, hey man, don't let him run. Make him throw the ball. Like, we were trying to make him throw the ball the entire game. We was not trying to allow him to scramble, because when he scrambles, he has that vision to look downfield and still make a throw. Mm-hmm. So that playing against him, we were like, man, don't. We was out there on the island, man. We was out there on the island mostly the entire game. We told D-Line, hey, D-Line, man, get him on the ground. Don't let him get that pocket. Because he does have that ability to scramble as well and keep his eyes downfield and make a throw. And like I say, man, he can beat you with his legs. I mean, I think I can't remember which game it was, but he had like a big run down the left sideline, and I was just looking at that like, yeah, this dude is
LSU.
This dude is ridiculous. Yeah, LSU. Yep. I'm like, dude, this dude is ridiculous. I mean, he got great size to him. So you're not just one person bringing him down at all. Like, you got to game tackle him. So his size to run like that. I mean, he's like a bulldozer that can throw as well. You know, so I'm excited to see what he does this upcoming season.
And here in Indianapolis, we're excited to get Anthony Richardson as well. We're going to throw it back to you in your game here. But so I'm a Big Ten guy from Indiana, big IU fan, football, basketball, even if we're not a football school. But you got to give the SEC their props. So how do you feel playing in the SEC, going against the talent that they have had at the receiver position over the past couple of years? How do you think that has prepared you for this next step that you're about to take to the NFL?
You know, I'll say with playing in the SEC, I mean, we consider the SEC like mini NFL.
Definitely.
We for I think 17 something like that year straight. We have the most draft picks. So it's like you in the SEC, you're a good player. You're playing at one of the best conferences in the country. The conference with a bunch of NFL talent. I mean, example, look at Bryce Young, SEC quarterback. Will Anderson, I trained with him at Exos. He's a SEC DN. So it's like guys coming out of the SEC and top draft picks, and just to be in that predicament in the SEC is just great, knowing that I'm going against NFL talent players. So it's like this is my tryout, to really like, okay, I can handle this competition on the next level. It's NFL guys as well who may have come from the SEC or whatever. But I'll say the difference from the SEC and going out west is my opinion, the different styles of offense. So in the SEC, you're going to get a lot more pro style. Kentucky, for example, they ran a pro style offense. We ran a pro style offense as well. So you get a lot of pro style offenses in the SEC, but when you go out west, you get that air raid. So you get a lot more teams that throw the ball, West Coast offense. And just to know that in the SEC, if you can handle the playbook in the SEC that we ran, and go out there and execute at a high level, being out west is probably no different. It's all about competing all across the board, no matter what conference you're in. But I'll say the SEC, you're in the SEC, man. That's your tryout for the NFL, in my opinion. So,
yeah, no, and Darius, honestly, we could keep talking about your play and everything for hours and hours here, and I could talk about banjo coverage. I could talk about how you attack certain players in certain stances and alignments. But I do want to bring it back to special teams just for a second. For how much we disagree that you went in the 5th round and how we hate that you went in the 5th round, that you should have gone much higher than the 5th round. You are a 5th round pick in the NFL draft, which means special teams is going to be a massive, massive thing for you to making an NFL team and being a productive player in the NFL. And before we jumped on here, I was looking at some of your special teams stuff in college, and I was like, this is a superb special teams player. What the hell? How did he fall to round 5? Like, you're going to get a star because you had 16 tackles in 3 years. According, this is Pro Football Focus here, so obviously it could be a little bit different from what you got internally. But like 16 tackles, you played some gunner. You were a core 4 guy overall. Like, how much are you embracing that role coming to the Colts? Where, you know what, maybe year 1 I don't get on the field as a starter, but I'm going to be that superstar special teamer from day 1.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, that's where they always say never forget where you came from, and I'll say that's what special teams was for me. That's where I started on in 2019, and I took pride in it all since then. So I know where I got my start and got the opportunity to finally get on that field, and I just embraced it, But I'll say part of being on special teams, I mean, it's a reason why it's called special teams. You make plays, you change the momentum of the game, honestly, with that. So it came up a lot this past year. I mean, we finished in terms of special teams efficiency. I think we're like number 1 in the country, So and certain special teams plays really helped out the momentum of the game, or it helped us in the game, like win the game. Like Clemson, for example, we caused 2 turnovers on special teams alone. I downed a punt inside the 5, and they ended up punting afterwards. So it's like the little things like that, like, can really change the momentum of the game and really help out the offense if needed, or the defense, pin them back and get a safety. Put them in uncomfortable positions. So I say that's where special teams really played a big part. And I mean, that's where I was. Hey, that's the only way I could have got on the field, and I was gonna be a demon at it. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you're coming to a team with a great recent history of special teams play. I mean, George Odom was a first-team All-Pro a couple years ago as a gunner. Ashton Doolin, I think 2 years ago, was a second-team All-Pro as a gunner.
Yep.
So now you're coming in and you're going to be competing with guys like Ashton Doolin for gunner. You're going to be competing with Tony Brown, who's been a gunner for years in the NFL. And that's just such a fascinating way to make an NFL roster. And so many players, I think don't understand that. And whenever I do phone calls to players and stuff, I try to get that. Like, I know I'm just like a media guy, so like, who cares what I say? But like, look, man, to make it in the NFL, you have to do special teams. Like day one, you have to be a dog on special teams unless you're, a top 5 pick. So for you to already have that experience, that's such a big box to already checked off for you. Where day one, you're going to be coming in and Brian Mason's going to be like, hey, I need someone to run gunner alongside Ashton Doolin. And you're going to be raising your hand and jumping out there and you're going to go level some poor punt returner in day one in practice. So like that's so big for making a team and then eventually becoming a starter. We've seen so many guys do that here in Indianapolis. So I just love to highlight that stuff because I just absolutely love special teams and it's such a big, important thing when it comes to making NFL teams.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Zach got really serious there. This question is a little bit less.
Why do I get roasted for the background's nice?
What is the one song you listen to before a game that gets you most pumped to take heads off, respectively? Also, props to Zach for doing the show from his shower.
This is my garage. No.
I'll say it's two of them. One being "Middle Child" by J. Cole.
Okay, come on.
And a fun fact, I am a middle child, so it plays out perfectly. And then I would say "Blackball" by NBA Youngboy. Those are my two. I got like mandatory. I gotta play both of them. Then you listen to the lyrics, and I can say like "Middle Child" really correlates to my story of being counted out. Just. And then Blackball is the same way. It was talking about like being counted out. They try to write you off, but you see me now. You see what I'm saying? So I'll say those are two songs that I really listen to, and you really got to listen to the lyrics to like understand it.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm all about talking about J. Cole. We can do another podcast another day where we'll
Definitely.
just break down our love for J. Cole, Darius. That'll have to happen. But looking at this week, are you getting to Indy tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so rookie mini camp this weekend. You're going to be in town. You're going to be putting the horseshoe on for the first time. So just to kind of give a message to Colts fans, maybe Colts personnel who are just checking to see what you were saying on this podcast. What are the Colts getting when Darius Rush puts the helmet on, puts this jersey on, whatever number it's going to be, come this time next week?
I'll say what the Colts are getting and what this fan base is getting is a guy who's coming in to make an impact for that organization. I'm a guy who's a team player. I'm a guy who's coming in to win games, and we're trying to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's always the ultimate goal at the end of the day. So you're getting a guy who's just coming in ready to compete and doing whatever necessary for the shoe.
Love it. Love it, man. Hey, we
appreciate the hashtag ready. Like he knows it. And I just want to put it out there. So we're going to clip this if I'm right. And I'm going to say that I influenced his number choice because he didn't tell us a number. But I envision that you're going to pick 29. I'm just going to say it. You don't have to make any facial reactions. But I think it's going to be 29. So we'll come back to this eventually. Zach has made it clear he wants to see you in 0.
I just want someone in 0. I want somebody in 0 so bad. I grew up a Gilbert Arenas fan, man. I want the 0. I want that 0 with somebody there. But Darius, man, we really appreciate you jumping on and answering some of my schematic questions and answering some of these really fun fan questions here and stuff like that. And man, just kill it here in training camp. Again, should have been a 2nd round pick, should have been a 3rd round pick. Who cares where you start, though, right? Who cares where you start? It's about where you end. And hopefully the ending is with you and the Colts hoisting up a Super Bowl trophy one day.
Most definitely.
Definitely, man. Cool. You got anything else, Destin, before we log off here?
Nope. Everybody, thank you so much. Thanks again to Darius for coming on. And good luck for this weekend when rookie minicamp gets started and your NFL journey starts. Like Zach said, a 5th rounder, 4th rounder, 3rd rounder. Who cares once you get the jersey and cleats on? It's just time to play. So excited to see you. Excited to see all these rookies get into town. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks for everybody for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button. And make sure you guys comment below what number you guys think Darius Rush is going to choose to wear. and we'll all get to see who was right later on. But appreciate everybody for coming out, and as always, go Colts.